Well, I'll call the meeting to order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I convene as the Walworth County Plan and Zoning Board. Is there any old business? New business? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor. I need a second. Second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I want to convene as the Walworth County Board of Zoning Adjustment. Is there any old business? New business?
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Second.
Got a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I want to convene as the Board of County Commissioners. Go to number 13. Consider motion to approve County Commission minutes of February 21st, 2019. Have we had a chance to go over them?
I'll move for approval.
I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Okay. Consider motion to approve claims to be paid as presented. Has everybody had a chance to go over those?
I so moved.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Consider motion for funeral assistance.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have here and passing around, it's an application for funeral assistance. It was mailed to my office on February 11th of 2019 from the Kessling Funeral Home. Now this application is in regard to a funeral held in June of 2018. A family member inquired about this in August of 2018 in my office, but declined to fill out an application. There's some question here about, there is the family member, the uncle who came and spoke with me in August, said that there is some land in debate that the individual inherited from a parent, but the process was never completed. This land is still in the deceased parent's name. At this point, the application that I did receive from Kessling Funeral Home, there is no way to make a determination if the individual does or does not qualify for assistance. The unfortunate part is per se, if in June, when the individual passed away, if there were some things worth monetary value. We are not the bill collector for the funeral home. The funeral home has to do their due diligence with family members, spouses, children, parents, to take care of this bill. Apparently a family member had set this up and had got the funeral taken care of. There was no okay from the board. In the past, I have never filled out a voucher for a funeral that was not first okayed by the commission, or at least by Mr. Hare, my boss, who had spoken to some commission members or could see that they did qualify. So my recommendation that I'm asking for is a motion to deny F 2019-A1, because we are unable to determine if the individual doesn't qualify for this assistance.
I so move.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that?
I would say not only that, but if they're too lazy to fill out the application, then why are we worried about it anyway?
You're correct. that's kind of where we're at, is that we can't make a determination. And if they don't qualify for the indigency level, or we can't determine if they're indigent, we're not going to pay. And we've kind of educated the funeral home a little bit on this, because I think they thought things were a little bit different. But we have criteria as a county that we have to meet with regard to whether we should pay for, because we're kind of the last resort. And so if we can't make a determination, a lot of times, once the family member is informed that they have to make certain financial disclosures and things like that, a lot of times they just kind of quit. And so without them, that's the first thing that we'll toss a claim out, whether it's for poor relief or for medical, is if they don't complete the application, there's no way for us to know.
But then to answer your question, Kevin, is that you have to do your due diligence. If the application was made, you have to go through the process. You have to go through the process of bringing it to the commission, because the ultimate decision is there based on anything that I might have found and shared with my boss, Mr. Hare, and then presented to you. So we always have to follow the steps so that they can never come back and say, oh, well, you never brought it to the commission. So that's part of, it seems crazy, but it's part of covering, following through with your procedures. The next thing I have.
I'm not done with that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I got the motion on the floor in a second. Is there any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed.
Sorry about that. I kind of jumped the gun. I'm so excited to be here.
Number 16 is something that I put on, but yes.
Right now, I am passing something around that I filled out and sent to the state. It is the 2018 South Dakota County Medical and Subsistence Expenditure Reporting Form. If you can go down there, you can see, what we paid last year in inpatient hospital claims, what we paid for county burials, developmentally disabled, involuntary mental health, medical, and then non-medical, and then medical that was in Yankton. We also have rent, utilities. We have our mental health center. We have our county nurse, our catastrophic medical pool, ambulances, the shelter, transportation, that would be bridges, and then the senior food program. And at the very bottom, you'll see we have client payments as well of what we've received last year at this point. You can see that the involuntarily mental health medical has gone up quite substantially. The year previous and previous that, there was not much in there. Well, after some digging, and I don't get a lot of time in this office, after some digging, I found out that some medical bills were being paid wrong just because people were misconstrued about some items. The jail medical bill was being hit with all of the mental health evaluations and holds. And the reasoning behind that, and I can understand that, is they thought, well, the person was in jail. Well, they're not arrested. They are actually in an involuntary hold. And in our county, the jail is the only place where that can happen. I know that Jamie has been talking with Becky and about the three of us wanting to sit down and do a little work there to try to, it's going to 3 different offices. I see parts of it, I don't see parts of it. Becky's getting some in the auditor's office for the non-medical, and then some medical. And then I'm getting some information from Josh, and then some of the medical bills. The problem is we've missed a few bills too where we would not have had to pay the medical because they had insurance. And so there's a miss there, and I really can't say probably it's anybody's fault. It's just that it's hitting 3 different offices. It's not coming all together. At this point, Jamie has everything coming to me, and the auditor's office brings everything they see down to me. We're paying some non-medical stuff where I got in touch with our attorney that handles the Walworth County mental health, and said, why are you, writing this voucher? This person is not even a resident. Why are you writing this voucher for Walworth County to pay this? They're not even a resident of our county. And I said, those hundreds of dollars add up. As you can see, for non-medical last year, we paid $9,424.91. This amount comes from court-appointed attorneys. It comes from mental illness hearings. It comes from sheriff's service when they have to serve the individual in the mental health facility. It comes from a court reporter. It comes from a bunch of different things. But those tens, 20s, hundreds, $200 add up pretty quick. And when you go back through and I take a look at that, there's some of those that I really feel we aren't as a county required to pay. The hospital is getting a lot better about getting information, whether it's private insurance or Medicaid or Medicare, or getting a phone number for me. I have been doing my due diligence and calling some of these people. I just called an individual, in a matter with the juvenile, and said, I know you're going through a hard time right now, but do you have insurance on the juvenile? Because if you do, if you could give me that number, it will alleviate this getting leaned against your property. Because once I do that and we pay that bill, we're not getting any money from any insurance. It's a fight. And it would be a fight that the individual would have to do. And 9 out of 10 times probably would. I mean, they've got a lot going on. I understand that. So you will see that report at spring conference. I also have a little bit that I wanted to go over with you. We have a 3-page 2018 jail medical billing, and then I have the 2019 one for as of right now. I apologize for all the paper, but I'm a black and white person. I like to see it in front of my eyes.
Just a second, can I take this phone call?
Yes, you may.
Is somebody missing one?
There should just be a one-pager. Does it say 2019 up there?
Yeah, there's just
Okay.
an extra one. I'll just hold on to it.
Okay. Will you give that extra 2019 to Josh so he can see what I'm speaking about too? Thank you, Eva.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Josh, I didn't mean to forget about you.
All right.
I think this phone call was planned to keep me in the hot seat.
Does anyone have any questions on that? That you want answered or anything?
On
I
the,
guess my only question would be, do you have a total of what would have been paid and what was
Yes.
actually paid if you
on
wouldn't-
page 3,
if you wouldn't have went through all these?
page 3 of 2018, the actual cost of the bill is the first number, $37,596.90. The amount we actually paid was $17,098.72. The monies the county saved were $23,847.31. And this is just on jail inmates that are incarcerated. This has nothing to do with poor relief. This is just the medical for the jail.
Oh, I see.
Those are the savings that we're seeing by taking the time to go through these bills, make sure that they're going to the right county.
If you wouldn't have looked at them yourself.
Basically, what was happening is these bills were getting paid fully without having the checking done, because some of these people can be covered by the tribe or IHS care or Medicare, Medicaid, or some actually have insurance coverage. And so what was originally happening is the bills were just getting paid, and then somehow we caught it, and I think it was Brenda, and then it's like, okay, we need to start developing a program where we can cut, because here we save $17,000 in bills that we would just normally pay. And so what happened is Brenda, since she takes care of all of the reporting and poor relief and funeral expenses, things like that, it's technically my responsibility, but she does my job, I'll tell you that. We said, let's start catching these problems, because $17,000 is a lot of money to the county. So every medical bill that was generated by the jail was coming to Brenda. And remember, we had talked about probably about 6 months ago, so that way we can keep that cost down.
But that's another reason that we gave her more hours.
That's exactly right.
That's
And
what I was getting at, is this is why we gave
absolutely
Brenda more hours to do this, to catch this.
Yes.
And you can see what that
Yeah, it's
is.
definitely $17,000 over putting her and giving her 4 or 5 more hours a week
That's
is definitely an advantage, and that's kind of why.
what I was getting at, was to show.
Yeah, we're saving a ton of money for a few extra hours.
Exactly, that's what I was getting at.
And unless you know what to look for and know what the codes are and things like that, you're not going to catch it. You're just going to think it's just another bill. Of course, they're going to bill us what we owe them, but a lot of times those codes are the actual dollar amount, where the counties only pay the Medicaid rate, right, Brenda?
Correct.
Which is generally half to a third of what the actual bill is. So then you have to say, no, this is what this code states that the Medicaid rate is. Which kind of leads into number 16 is when Brenda first started talking about the report that goes to the state and then is at your spring conference on what we're paying for certain county things. What was happening also is other bills were coming through, particularly mental health, things like that, that were coming through to the auditor's office and just getting paid directly. And so what had happened is Brenda caught that we were, and this is stuff we had already talked about, Scott, so I just kind of started going, if that's all right. But like Brenda was saying, is we have basically the state's attorney's office, which is also the welfare director, sees some bills, the jail and sheriff's office sees some bills, and then the auditor's office sees some bills. And they're slipping through the certain, and it's everybody. It's not like, oh, this is the problem. Just certain bills are getting paid where we can save money on them. And so I talked to Scott and then talked to Becky and said, look, we need to figure out a way to have all of these bills that are coming through cleared, which would probably be by Brenda, because she's the best at knowing, or me, but Brenda's better than I am. So whether this is the actual dollar amount we need to be paying. So what Becky and I worked out is that all medical, mental health, those bills are coming down to Brenda. That way, she gets the chance to look at everything and say, okay, this is the least amount we need to pay on this bill. Or she codes it down, or she'll reject it because of, she'll make the phone call saying, by the way, why was this not Medicaid patient, or do you have Medicaid or Medicare, or why was this not billed to the IHS? What's happening is now that we're doing that, Brenda's time on this is jumped dramatically. And again, it's a savings thing. And honestly, what my view is on it is that if we want to continue on this path, Brenda's probably going to have to come out of 4-H. She is just getting too far behind on doing this. I know that's what the initial plan was. We were going to give her some more hours, but this is turning into a bigger issue and it's not going away. We're seeing more and more mental health, which isn't that fairly the biggest problem is the ambulance brings in someone from, say, Dewey County, and it's a suicide attempt. They come to Mobridge because it's the closest and biggest hospital in the area. They do an emergency mental health committal at the hospital, and then all of a sudden it's on us, the sheriff's office, to deal with a mental health provider, do a qualified mental health, QMHP, qualified mental health.
Transportation?
Yep, transportation by our office down to General Human Services Center in Yankton or Worthmore Addiction Services in Aberdeen. And then Brandon Telefaro is our mental health officer. He's an attorney out of Aberdeen, and he does the whole circuit pretty much, other than Brown County. And so we are getting bills that technically aren't ours that we have been paying, just because people thought they were ours because it would come through the sheriff's office or the jail and then get paid out directly, where realistically we need to be kicking these things back to the referring counties. And this is just one example of what's happening. There's other ways that these bills are coming in, but when you say that's the biggest?
That is the biggest debate that we're having, and you know, there's a lot of, it's not a black and white area. Each case is individual. You apply the rules and the statutes the best that you know them. But I just see some things slipping through the cracks here on us that I just, you know, as been talking to people that are involved, that, you know, either they need to pay a little closer attention or we need more information. But the more information I can get, the better off we are, because there's a lot of times that you'll find out that there's insurance.
After the fact.
But let's say Lutheran Social Services, I'm a juvenile and I've been involuntarily held on a mental health hold, and Lutheran Social Services does some work with me, some counseling, but they don't know that I'm on Medicaid. Nobody shared that information, but they just send a bill. Well, it's a lot bigger bill that we're paying that we probably don't need to pay because I am covered under Medicaid.
Or it may not even be our bill because this juvenile may be coming from another county that just happens to come through our hospital. And so I guess kind of the option that we have is either operate status quo and we're still going to bleed funds. Again, how much funds, I don't know. That's because we don't catch it. Or we're going to have to reorganize what Brenda does if you want to have her being the central clearinghouse for doing this, because it's just not, she's getting behind in her other duties with regard to being abuse and neglect person for my office, and I think she's getting behind in 4-H, which then creates more comp time, which we don't want to have. And so we need to address it as far as, do we want to change what her duties are, or are we going to leave her duties the same and just operate without her running the checks on things? And that's why I put that on, is for discussion, for you to make a decision. Because it's definitely impacting my office and it's impacting 4-H. Just because I know how much comp time Brenda gets, and we're going going backwards. And when we were previously talking about, let's eliminate this comp time, I've been trying to push Brenda down to eliminate comp time, but it just keeps popping up because the amount of time spent on making sure that we are paying the proper amount is increased dramatically over the last 2-3 months. Is that kind of a fair way to put it, Brenda?
Yeah, it kind of is. It isn't that I like all of my jobs, so it isn't like I like one more than the other. I, just trying to do a good job on all of them, but it seems like as more to look over comes down to me, it does get a little bit harder to be as fast and proficient as I need to be. Not saying that I don't make my share of mistakes, because we all do. But, I guess I don't care where I work. I like my jobs. I like coming to work. I like being here. I have no problem with what I do, and I'm always going to try to do my best. But I'm going to ask, while you're thinking about all that, if we can go back to our jail deals for a second. The first page on 2018, and there's only one page so far for 2019. Everything in yellow on those pages is actually from the year before. As you can see, our relationship with the hospitals and the clinics has become a lot better, and we're getting those bills timely. You're always going to have an overlap of a little bit, but as you can see, it's went from $13 down to $3. When we go and flip the second page of 2018, everything there in blue did not actually come out of our coffers. I mean, we actually paid the check, but BIA, that was a medical bill that BIA had to pay to us because it was their prisoner. But the only way they could do it was through an account set up in the treasurer's office when they had prisoners here, where they would pay that account. But other than that, you can see we've made quite a reduction. Right now we're looking pretty good. We've actually spent $1,423.31 in 2019, and we were saved $3,662.79. We're really on track with what I do for the medical billing and prescriptions for the sheriff's office. They've been coming, and we're getting them done timely, and everything is on there, so those kind of things are working out. And slowly but surely, I think that we're starting to get things worked out where I'm seeing better mental involuntary health papers filled out quite a bit better, where just because they were taken here in Walworth County doesn't, necessarily mean they're a resident. If they came in from Standing Rock Sioux Tribe ambulance, or if they came over from on a different ambulance, that's being noted, and I'm doing my due diligence and calling and talking with Woolridge Hospital about, okay, well, tell me who brought this patient in, and why are they here, and where are they from, and so that's been pretty helpful. Other than that, unless you have questions for me, that's kind of all I have for you, just to bring you up to date.
Yeah, I got a couple questions.
Okay?
All these bills that was submitted today for Mulbridge Regional Hospital and the Bear, did you go over all these bills?
You'd have to show me that.
On the claims?
On the claims?
On the claims deal, you'd have to show me the claims list.
I don't think we can guarantee that, just because Becky and I only met like a week ago to say that she was in agreement to use Brenda as the clearinghouse for all of our medical billing, whether it comes from whatever entity. We've been doing the sheriff's office, but a lot of stuff, and jail, but a lot of stuff does not necessarily come. It may come right to the auditor's office.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, is every month we've been seeing a lot of these lately. And you're only showing so far this year this amount here. I know we've had, there's probably, what, 7 or 8 claims on this one alone, where these are getting run through.
They should all be, a lot of times the bills will come in directly to the Walworth County Auditor.
Right.
And they were just being paid, where realistically, we need to run them through either, and that's why Becky and I talk, because it's like, we need to work together rather than.
That's what I'm saying, is for the last
Forever.
we see this every time on the claims list, and you're only showing this much that was checked out
Correct.
to make a difference.
And that's why we
What I'm
want to,
saying.
you're absolutely right.
So here's my recommendation to the rest of you guys. What my suggestion would be is, I'm on the 4-H Advisory Council too. Can we table this till next meeting? I will get with Sherry and with Becky to see what impact that would make if we took Becky off of the 4-H and just give everything to Brenda. But meet with both of them to see what impact it would be taking Brenda off of the 4-H and just moving all them hours over to this.
And that's what I talked to Becky about, because we're just missing, we're falling through the cracks on these bills, and it takes some training to know what to look for, and then also training on, oh, this is who I need to call to backtrack on. Like, most people wouldn't know to call the hospital and say, well, whose ambulance did this person come in on?
Well, there's no doubt Brenda's by far the most qualified one to do this.
Absolutely.
Instead of trying to train somebody from the sheriff's office or from the auditor's office.
Absolutely. And one other thing is, this will not go away if the jail closes.
Plus
We'll just get them from Vaught County now.
I understand that, but
Yes.
the idea behind this was as an independent counsel too, away from the sheriff's office
Yep.
and auditor's office, run through your office.
Yep.
Then there's checks and balances.
Absolutely, and that we know that we're paying the least amount on every bill, which saves the county money, even though we have to incorporate more time into Brenda. But I personally think it's worthwhile. That's why I'm bringing it to you, because we can save the county money on bills that we normally would just pay. Because, and it's not anyone's fault, it's just that, hey, I get a bill from this place, let's pay it. But sometimes you need to check into it, because it may be a bill for someone who was brought in on the Dewey County ambulance that could actually be billed to someone else, or is not our responsibility. Is that kind of a fair way to put it, Brandon?
Yeah.
What's the rest of you guys think of? But I think we need to just get with Sherry first to see.
Correct. Be the
There,
right way to do it.
I circled some numbers on yours. I do not have them on my list. The only one on the medical list that I have is $32.74. That was paid to the hospital. I'll let you all get there.
We got 3 of them.
And you mark the ones you don't have, like, because they haven't been paid yet, so I can pull those.
Okay, $32.74 was, is in my account, $65.35, and 107. Those are the 3 that I have on my list. So I would have to actually pull those vouchers to see those bills, to see.
Yeah, I'll get it
if-
to you,
Okay.
and the bills that came in.
Forever a pain in your side, huh?
No,
But I think that'd be the way to do it.
no, I
And it
can't.
would,
Because I have some different ideas for how we can help 4-H out too.
Sure.
We took.
and it alleviates having, you know, because the person who, it's good to have to go through one central clearinghouse, kind of like we talked about, rather than, because 3 entities get the bill, and it doesn't always go through Brenda to make sure that it's paid at the lowest amount or paid at all. Is that kind of a fair way to put it, Brenda?
Yeah.
And then speaking with Becky, I think she's in agreement that send them through Brenda, because their office is not trained to be able to identify which ones, you know, their job is.
If I get it, I take it to Brenda.
Yeah, and all of the sheriff's office comes, and jail comes automatically to Brenda now. And now the audit, everything that comes to the auditor is going to be.
I think I gave you 2 yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah, they came in the mail. I just-
Right, but they wouldn't be, they're not.
And that's
done
just
yet,
because
so.
we
Oh, that's
have You know, I only talked to Becky last week on let's start doing this, so some of these bills are older than that, so it's not an auditor issue, it's just that we changed kind of how we're doing things, but we also needed to discuss with you on if we're going to make this change, we need to make some change with regard to her hours because we can save money.
If you could get a meeting set up with you and Sherry and me sometime before our next meeting so we could discuss this.
Okay, I'll ask her what her schedule is. I won't see her. I'm gone Friday for sabbatical with my husband in Bismarck. I think she will be here Wednesday, so I'll ask her. I don't know if we have programming or not.
Wednesday are you talking? Next week?
Well, this Wednesday, I think I'll see her, yep. And then can ask her so she can take a look at what's going on in her schedule. Because I know she has some trainings and some things, I mean, stuff that wouldn't pertain to what I do.
We got until, we got a few weeks here.
Okay. You know, and part of this too, I did a lot of talking to some other county welfare directors and staff. Some counties, the auditor handles all of the stuff. Some counties, the poor relief, the welfare office handles all the mental health, handles it all. You know, and I think some, of course, I feel these decisions are made on how big your county is. You know, Minnehaha's welfare office, poor relief office is huge. It's huge. But they have a lot more programs, they have a lot more people, they have a lot, you know. I know at one time I did ask Roger Walker, I saw him in passing one day and I chatted with him, and at one time he did handle all this. And then I believe Roger had some health issues and I think Gwen ended up taking it over to get it done. So I think somewhere in between there, you know, it's kind of been floating in this kind of this iffy ground up here where, you know, we have a lot of people pulling from it, but, you know, not everybody knowing all the same information.
I got a quick question. On the 2018, it seems like, and I mean, the dollars that you saved are just amazing to me, but were there no charges from October, November, or quite a bit of December?
We didn't have many charges.
Okay.
We had most of ours at the beginning, and it depends upon how the year goes, where they all happen.
Okay. I just wondering if there was some, possibly missed someplace.
You know, always remember when the moon is full, the jail gets busier. Holidays,
Yep.
the jail gets busier. You know, different celebrations within the community. But
As a mental health holding and as a criminal holding, because they both cycle the same way. Mental health tends to follow crime.
I got one other question for you, Jamie. Is there any way that we can add some of these court-appointed attorneys onto the same stuff?
What we're going, generally,
Right,
the court-appointed attorney, the only time a person with regard to mental health care needs or gets a court-appointed attorney is if they ask for one. Most of the time, and what happens is you're going to do a 48-hour involuntary hold, is the right word for it. So the attorney, Brandon Telefaro, makes a determination to hold this individual for 48 hours because they either are a threat to themselves or a threat to others. That's generally the standard that's used. And so you pull that person in for that 48-hour hold. If you want to hold them any longer, then you're going to have to go to court, unless they voluntarily agree to be held. So once, say if I come in and I'm on a whole bunch of pills because I tried to commit suicide, at that time I'm a threat to myself because I attempted to kill myself. But once my body is clear and I'm down in Yankton and they say, well, do you still feel suicidal? No. Well, then you're no longer a threat, and they come right back out. And we may see them again in a month. But that's the criteria, is do they pose a threat to themselves or others?
Isn't there something that a guy can do, whether go to the state or something? I mean, because like I said, the court-appointed attorneys
Kills
get
us.
out of
Yep.
control.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I don't believe every other county is the same. I'm guessing it's
We
where
are
we're
extremely-
located at.
We are extremely high on our costs for law enforcement and state's attorney, which falls into court-appointed attorney, all of that stuff. We are probably, of the 12 counties in our circuit, we are probably number 2 or number 3 in costs of operating with regard to those entities. And the other 2 counties that would be more is Brown, and their population is 6 times what ours is, and then Roberts County, which is Sisseton, which runs into the same problem we do. Their costs are extremely high. If this was a normal 5,000 person county, we would not need as much law enforcement, we would not need a full-time state's attorney, and our court-appointed attorney. Realistically, a good example to look at is Spink County. They're roughly our same population, our same size, and you can see how much lower their costs of running the law enforcement end, mental health end, all of that stuff is much smaller than ours.
Wouldn't it be better, would be money ahead right now if we would hire one attorney?
The only problem is you're going to run into issues with conflicts and things like that. The other thing is finding someone who's going to do it, and what are they going to do it for. Plus, with regard to abuse and neglects, every abuse and neglect case has the potential to have 4 attorneys minimum involved. You're going to have myself, which represents the state. You're going to have Lisa Von Wald, who is appointed to represent the interest of the child or children. And then every parent is entitled to an attorney to represent themselves. And so if you have 3 children with the same mother, but there's 3 different fathers, that's 6 attorneys that need to be involved. And the other thing is 90% of the cases that I deal with in this county are Indian Child Welfare Act cases. And those have a much higher level of scrutiny. And so even if the individual may not want an attorney, the court is going to appoint them one to make sure that we don't have any issues with the Indian Child Welfare Act. And so that's the problem when it's like, let's hire one. And a lot of the court-appointed attorneys come out of abuse and neglects. We already did one termination, which probably cost the county $20,000 on a termination of parental rights. We have another one coming up next month, which is going to cost you another $20,000. We have one coming up in August, which is probably going to cost you another $20,000. And this is because where we live, and that's why when we budget for some of these things, like last year, do we only do 1 termination or none?
Last year, I believe 1.
1. This year we already have 3 scheduled, and we're into March. It's a huge cost, but the thing that we want to avoid is making any mistakes, especially when we're dealing with the Indian Child Welfare Act, because it's a huge issue nationally. And I know that doesn't really answer your question well, but a lot of these cases pull in a lot of attorneys. And it's all location.
Sounds to me like we need to get our state's representatives involved in.
I think they know. I've talked to Spencer plenty of times. He's well aware. It's just that the state is on the same level as we are, where we're going to get the money. They want to balance their budget. They push things onto the county. And then we have a hard time balancing our budget.
But I mean, it should be easy to look back. I mean, the state should be able to look back and see the counties that it's really affecting. You could just go through it and show it and say, here it is, black and white.
I think you're right. It's just that, are you going to be able to get that for a few counties when we're small counties? That's the problem.
It's the representatives to agree with all that.
Yeah.
To support the counties that are really in need of it.
Absolutely, because we're small counties that have this problem, and then you have Minnehaha County.
This is a statewide thing. Have you guys talked about it at association meetings and whatnot? That's where we push hard at legislature, during sessions. Sheriff's Association does, and you've got Commissioner Association has come up, but I don't know how much you guys utilize it or not. But make, you know, make some noise and if you want to see some changes and talk with your other counties.
But just in this area, Potter County has a problem. Campbell doesn't have much of a problem, but Dewey, Corson, Ziebach.
Ziebach is way bad.
Yeah.
As far as getting paid for anything.
Yes.
I know they don't get paid for nothing down there.
And a lot of it too though is getting back to Brenda, she's very aggressive and says, we will not pay you. Or you need to give me this information and you gotta do that digging, which we should not have to do, but in order to save money. But yeah, Commissioner Schlomer, you're right, and Commissioner Schilling's right too. This is not just our problem, there's a lot of small counties. Where a big county like Minnehaha, Pennington, Brown can absorb a lot of that, just because they're highly populated. You know, we're a county of roughly 5,500, and we're all having to pay for the cost.
I guess if you want to put that on the agenda for next meeting for Brenda's discussion.
Did that kind of answer things, Scott, or did that just cloud him up?
No. Need to talk to Bob a little bit about it.
It would be nice if we had some fund to offset the cost of doing business here. We do get a lot of spillover.
Okay. Anything else, Brenda?
I don't have another thing for you.
Perfect.
I know, that's what I thought.
Thank you.
Thank you. Blake?
Can you hear me? Starting out, I guess we have the compensation for highway department. Did you guys discuss anything about that?
No, Ryan, you and I were talking about that the other day. You want to kind of, you're better at explaining stuff.
Well, and I was helping with payroll down there just yesterday. And thank you.
Turn everybody else.
Yeah, I know, except
Turn
for my
everybody
own.
on.
I was helping out with payroll down there yesterday, and there's some guys that have that accrued 55 hours of comp time just in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, this winter is exceptional, and it's blessings upon us, but I think that something needs to be done. According to policy right now, a person should only be able to accrue 80 hours of comp time before it gets paid out as overtime. So in that, with that in mind, I think what I would recommend is that if anybody has over 80 hours of comp time accrued, they are paid out. And then from this point forward, and you can decide to do this either countywide or just for the highway department, I would just say pay overtime instead of comp time. All the comp time does is push it down the road. Realistically, those guys over there, they don't even have the opportunity to take their vacation leave. Most of them are maxed out on vacation as it is. So when are they ever going to use this comp time that they've accrued? You're just pushing it down the road till they retire, and then you have to write them a check for $10,000. You know, at that point, there's really no way to. The only way to accurately budget for it is to budget for overtime every year, and then because it's really hard to budget to pay a $10,000 check out when somebody retires. You don't always know when somebody's going to quit or retire. So I think the best way to do it is probably just, like I said, to pay them down to that 80-hour point. That way, if somebody is banking on that, you know, somebody who doesn't have as much vacation time, if they want that comp time, there's still a little bit of it available, just not a lot of it like it is right now. And like I said, you could just do this just for the highway department, or you could do it countywide. I'm not a big believer in comp time. All it does is pass the buck down the road. You're going to pay for it one way or another. So I think it's probably best just to start budgeting for overtime in these departments and go from there. Because, I mean, when you have basically your entire workforce, or the vast majority of it, who are accruing vacation at the maximum rate, it's hard to use that. Just even to use your vacation, let alone your comp time.
And there's a few folks not in the highway department within the building who have also maxed their
Right.
vacation and so they're earning comp.
I know I'm trying to get rid of it,
Yeah,
but.
I know, and, you know, and I'm just speaking for Becky, because I know we've talked about it, she's not here. But, I mean, I agree with Ryan, it'd be easier to just pay them out overtime, because they don't always go over. And I've also seen it when someone leaves, we do cut them a really big, huge check that it's not budgeted for. You know, and so then that department's budget's all out of whack for the next year because of the people or person who left. And we got quite a few in the highway department who have been there a long time and they're getting close to retirement.
I know for this year it would be an unbudgeted expense to go through with this, but hopefully contingency would absorb some of it. We might be in a situation where we have to do a budget hearing at the end of the year to cover some of it. But I think in the future, you know, budgeting a reasonable amount of overtime per office when you know that you're going to use. I mean, I take even my department for an example. I work Saturdays during the winter or during the summertime, so we have more than 40 hours a week that we're working, and there's some instances where it's tough to work the work schedule around it, and you have guys that are working over 40 hours in a week. It's just the way it is. I try to eliminate it as much as possible, but it's tough to do sometimes. So I think if you can look ahead and budget a reasonable amount of overtime, you could keep that from happening. Kind of similar to what we've done with the over in the jail with the budget over there. You know, budget. What do we do? Usually 120 hours per employee, I think. So something like that. Build it into the budget. That way you actually have. You can look at it and say, okay, this is a reasonable expenditure. We're not just going to put it into this account and cover our eyes until this person quits or retires. So that would be my suggestion. I don't think it would hurt to do it countywide. Like I said, I'm not a believer in comp time, but there's probably some differing opinions out there.
You understanding that, Blake?
Yeah, well, like you said, we got 51 hours in one pay period of comp time. So
that's one
even
person.
the 80 is almost obsolete already. It's accumulating 80. And there's guys that they lost vacation last week, which it is their responsibility to use it, but they can't right now because they got so much to do and accumulated.
Yeah, once they max out on their vacation, they lose it.
Unless you would give them allowance to hold more vacation, but that would be even farther down. Because I don't think that they should lose it because they've been here that long. I don't feel that they should lose their.
I don't think anybody's saying that.
Okay.
Now, Ryan, does something got to get changed in the personnel policy for that then, or?
Well, if you just go with that, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because it already says that an employee should only be able to hold 80 hours of comp time. So, comp time is a statutory option for counties. That's called out state law that we're allowed to do that. That's not something they can do in private industry. They're obligated to pay overtime. So, but it's an option. It's not saying that we have to do it. So we already have that available to us, even following within the policy guidelines. Right now over at the jail, they don't accrue comp time anymore. They get paid out overtime. So it's something that we're doing in that department already. I don't think that would have to be changed now. In line with what Blake was saying here with the vacation, I think maybe, at least until we get out of this winter, you should consider some sort of forbearance and let the highway department employees accrue a little bit more vacation, because this is really outside of their control. And I don't think it's right that they should lose their vacation when they're out there working 50, 60 hours a week to try and keep the roads open. I don't think that's right at all.
I don't think there's a commissioner here that feels that, is there?
Well, at this point, only one person has, I think they lost like 3.5 hours, so, till now, they haven't really lost much, and that one person has been taking time off.
Yeah.
And he always calls me at the end of the week and is like, hey, how many hours am I at? And so then he tries to take off.
To the highway department? Well, according to me, they just lost, because they came in Saturday, I believe it was.
It was Saturday.
And they would lose their vacation for that day and their overtime, because it would have been overtime, but then.
For this week, okay, this pay period.
For this pay period, I think it's gonna start.
This next coming one, I believe.
Well,
I don't
Yeah.
know.
from here on out, until it starts melting, every time it snows, every time the wind blows, there's gonna be overtime. I mean, that's just the reality of things. Every day.
Now, do we need to put that in a motion then? How we got it, we're gonna do that?
What's the plan to extend vacation time or extend comp time?
Well, I think we should try to get away from the comp time.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna pay it out, I think you should put that into a motion. You just need to
Yep.
decide if you're gonna do it countywide or just for that department.
I would not do it countywide. You're gonna create, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Ryan, but we already have a problem with too many people collecting, not taking vacation, and whether they can't just because of work or they choose not to, that needs to be dealt with on the individual, but we don't want to create a bigger problem than we have to. I would just say limit it to the highway department, honestly.
Are you talking for the payout or just for the vacation accrual?
For the
temporarily?
vacation accrual,
Okay.
I would just do that a temporary thing for like the next 6 months on the highway department, that they don't lose any vacation time due to the fact that they're working comp time. The other thing is you need to make a decision on what you're going to do with overtime, because it's something that is required. And this is the worst winter we've had in 10 years. They can max out their 80 hours of comp time within 2 weeks. You need to make a decision on what you're going to do, because you're not gonna, this problem's still gonna get worse over this winter. So my recommendation would be probably start paying overtime. That's gonna alleviate most of the problem from pushing itself down the road with the comp time and things like that. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do today. If you want to make a decision, I would do what Jamie said and give a vacation accrual forbearance for 6 months from today, and then.
Just for a highway department?
I mean, it's not gonna snow for the next 6
No,
months.
but you have to realize it's gonna take a while to
Use it up.
use it up too, so.
That way in 6 months, they need to be below, they'll have to use that time up within 6 months, so. And that's kind of what you're saying, right,
Yeah.
Ryan? Yeah, because if we say it's only for 90 days, we still
Vacation,
not.
you're talking? Just the vacation?
Yeah,
Just
this
the
is just for
vacation.
the vacation, yeah.
Because we got to have time for them to use it up to get down below
Right.
the required amount. Because if we set it for 60
Because they
days,
gather, I think 4 of them get every pay period 6 hours of vacation, they're already maxed out.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, maybe that's 3
6.25.
3 or 6
6.25.
per pay period, right?
Per pay period.
Right.
So for today, I think what I would do, and this merits further discussion before the next meeting too, but for today, I think we should do the vacation accrual forbearance, and then also say that immediately we're going to switch over to paying overtime for the highway department, and then we can talk about the problem countywide before the next meeting. But for the highway department, I would definitely make that decision today to switch over to paying overtime instead of letting them accrue
Yeah.
comp time.
and it would be in 2 separate motions.
Okay, I need a motion for the vacation one. I so move. Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second. A second. Got a second. Any more discussion on that?
And so the motion would be
How many
to-
days was that, I guess?
Just clarify it.
Yep, that the county would forbear the loss of vacation time due to having over the limit for highway department employees only for the next 6 months is kind of what I thought was coming out of this.
Yes.
So it would only apply to the highway department, and they would have to get it eaten up within 6 months from the passage of your motion.
Is 6 months long enough?
We can always come back and look at it. We don't want to kick the can too far down the road. I think what Ryan's like, we don't want to push this out a year, because then all of a sudden we're going to deal with this in December. It's like, okay, let's give them a time limit,
6
then they
months.
know how much.
6 months.
6 months gets them through, pretty much through summer.
Yep.
So at least they'd have the time to hopefully.
A lot of them
use
say
it.
they try to keep right on, keep it under with the vacation, but I mean, since I started, it's been nonstop going as far as a few days off we've even had.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
Now we need the second one.
The second motion would be to authorize overtime for the highway department staff only for an indefinite period of time. And then that way you can come back and end it when you feel it's appropriate. Because we may be able to end it in 2 weeks, we'd be able to end it in 3 months. We don't know yet. So I wouldn't put a deadline on it, or else you're gonna have to come back and make changes, and then it's like, well, my pay period ends here and I'm not gonna get overtime now because it cuts. Let's just do it indefinitely and put it on the agenda, say in 30 days to reevaluate it, and if we still need to keep it on, put it on the agenda for another 30 days. That would be my recommendation. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. And then we can decide if we want to do kind of a overtime policy with a little larger scope, countywide.
And get rid of
overtime
the
policy.
content.
Yep, so we'll give us time.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Okay, the next stuff has to do with me on 319. Well, we were supposed to meet yesterday, but the weather was bad, so actually we're going to probably meet, I think, Thursday for the 319 project. So,
Table that till the next.
yeah, so that'll go on to the next meeting, I just let you know. So. All right, we can go to the next, last discussion regarding county road maintenance. James.
This is me as citizen. I want to preface this by saying I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus. I'm not here to do anything except address some situations. And a lot of it is weather related, and I'm not going to say that this is an average winter because it's not. But when, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when we hired a new superintendent, it was going to be a superintendent who was going to not necessarily follow all of the way things had been done in previous administrations. I don't know whether that was addressed to him or not, but I know when part of the discussion was made to hire a new superintendent, that there were going to be changes made with regard to how things are going to be done. And I don't know whether that was related to you or not, so I'm not trying to address it to you. But with that said, there are some things that need to be addressed. I don't know how they deal with their road maintenance or whatever, but whether it needs to be overtime but we are way behind the 8 ball, and I don't know what the reason is. We have no way, and this is something we've had for a long time, no way of tracking what gets done. Some of the suggestions that came out under previous administrations were activate GPSs in blades and things like that in trucks, require logbooks for vehicles. That way when citizens like myself say what's going on, we can provide that documentation to say, this is what we did on this particular day, this is where we covered things, this is what the staff did to cover us and as a county and inform the citizenry, because I don't know, I have no clue. And rather than get into a situation where we are exactly where we were a year ago, or 5 years ago, or 6 years ago when I first came into office, this is the time to make the change, and I thought that's when the commission was going to make the change.
Those changes, truthfully, they are very close to being in place, that I can tell you. And I know what you're saying, Jamie, but They are. They're gonna
And that's great, but I just don't know. As a citizen, I don't know. I'm just the state's attorney. I have nothing to do with the highway department, and I'm glad, but I think one of the things, because as all county staff and employees, we hear it from the community. And when they ask me, I don't know, I'm just the state's attorney, I don't know, but I think we need to do a better job of communicating what's going on and what we're planning on implementing and things like that. That way it alleviates the confusion. Because when people are confused, that's when we get crazy rumors and we get people angry. And I was one of them. I'm like, what the heck? And I thank Scott that he's got big shoulders, because when I complain to him, he's willing to listen to me. But this is the time that, and I think a lot of us, when we were dealing with this was the time to make the big changes, because we weren't going to get the changes under the previous situation. And that's basically what I wanted to address to the commission is we're going to run into the status quo if we don't make the changes that the commission was looking at. Because I talked to most of you, and when we were dealing with this 4 months ago, it's like, okay, what do we need to do to make things better? And I don't know if that's been addressed with Blake or not. That's not my job. But I think we need to get the communication and the knowledge out to the community that this is what we're doing to make things better for your county, so you don't have your complaints. That's kind of all I have.
I guess that I know that Scott and Kevin has called me about complaints, which I would like for all the commissioners to send them to the highway department or the superintendent's cell phone, rather than, I mean, if we don't get it done, or if we don't talk to the person, then they should call you, I guess, if we're, but.
Yeah, that's like you and I were talking, Blake. Yeah, we can tell, but I mean, there's some guys it'll never change. It's never going to change. Right. But I mean, I agree with what you're saying. And Jamie, what you're talking about, believe me, they are very close.
Okay, good.
I'm just telling you that.
And that's why I talked to you, because honestly, as a state's attorney, that's none of my business. That's out of my food chain. But as a citizen, I was like, I had certain privy information that I was hoping that we were getting close to, that I didn't know whether we were or not. So
yes.
And I'll just address also in emergencies, I've called them out. So I'll usually just communicate that with the superintendent in past and present. I'll continue to do that. I think in the 10 years I've been here, I think I've had to do that maybe 3 times. And it was to get an ambulance somewhere or into a yard, something emergent like that, or Marty opening up 20th, getting over to the hospital, because a lot of times Campbell County ambulance or something will come in 1804. So stuff like that, I've called them out in emergencies.
To the superintendents or to the actual operators, or?
At that point in time when I called Marty out, I believe Penny was on vacation, so she wasn't available. So I called him direct, but he was road foreman next in line, so but it was happened to be his road or his route. So I usually go through the superintendent.
And truthfully, Blake, when I get calls, it ain't all bad calls. I get good calls too. So just so you know.
Yeah, we've been hammering the phones down there, so I don't think there'd be too many complaints of not getting through to one of us. Or I even set up the answering machine. I don't know if that was ever set up before, but
there's no doubt it's an ugly year.
Yeah.
I have not had one complaint, all compliments.
Okay.
One complaint I've had is to stop the snow.
Good luck with that.
Blake, you got anything else?
I do not at this time.
Okay, I mean, I could bring it up in new business, but we were talking about it before the meeting about a snow blower. I mean, there's no question, something's got to be done.
Very soon.
Blake did talk to Fallon. That was just a regular tractor mounted one. $3,000 a month, was it correct, Blake?
Yep.
But it's like Jim and I, we were talking, that's not a very heavy duty one. I did get some prices, Blake. More of a heavy duty one, be like 13 grand. Less heavy duty was 9. So I'd say it's
For a
close
motor
to
type or?
right. But I just, when I left the meeting, I took that phone call. That one is a self-contained unit. It's got 39 hours on it. It was a demo model. Does the 938, does it got a quick attach on it? I don't know for sure. Do you know?
I don't think the big one does, I don't think the little
Big one does, the 950 does?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's gonna take, is a quick
Right.
attach. But that one there, you're not close yet, Brian. 120.
That's the ballpark I was thinking.
Yeah.
120, 120,000.
Yes. That one there has got, it's 260 horse. So it's, I mean, hell, it's probably bigger than the payloader.
Is there a
By
state bid
far.
on that, do you know? So we could just purchase it, or do we have to let it for bids, or do we have to
I
say?
can
this
check
is
with
for-
procurement and see if there's a state bid out there for it.
You know, the odds are, you know, we could spend $10,000 on that one for a tractor, and I'm pretty sure we all know it's gonna be $10,000, because it ain't gonna last.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all for the one on the loader, the bigger one, but I don't know where we're at.
I think that'd be much wiser than buying a truck.
I do too. I mean, I gave my reasons because I feel that a truck,
And all the operators thought that, from what I talked to them, that the loader one would be better because you can,
well, the truck, I mean, look, that one there, you can just set in the corner in the shop. You know, you use your loader, where the truck mounted one, there it sits in the shop, it might have dust on it for 5 years.
yeah.
And there's no question, we gotta do something.
The trouble is, we need to do it today.
I know it's set in T. It could be here if that's what. if
There are
that's what-
some getting around the bid processes due to emergencies. So I should probably, if you're looking at doing it immediately, I think we can probably find a way around it.
I don't know how I don't know what the rest, what the rest of you feel. I mean, it's a lot of money, but
I had a call for the 15-foot snow drift up on 125 by Eric Schroeder's today, so, I mean, he's pretty well stuck in there right now. So we need to make, whether we go with the little one for now, or we need something for sure.
yes, Jamie.
I would say that I would agree with Blake that you probably should make the decision today on what to do, and then we will deal with the bid process later. Either have to declare an emergency, or, because you can do emergency purchases, I just don't know what the specifics are. Have you looked at that before, Ryan? Or are you looking at it right now?
I'm just looking at contracts right now, but yeah, I mean, I think this would constitute an emergency, so I wouldn't be worried about that. You just kind of got to do it and then justify it after the fact is more or less what you got to do, but we can work that out after the meeting here quick too, just to.
Yeah, we'll just meet after the meeting.
I'm sure that, I mean, yes, it's a lot of money, but,
That's something that probably last our lifetime,
correct,
no more than needed.
right.
We're just gonna take it out of contingency then, or do a supplemental
It's not something we'll have to replace. in
budget
5 years.
supplement, or?
That's the right.
Probably have to do a budget supplement down the road, depending on but we won't have to worry about that imminently, that can wait until later in the year.
I mean, I'm sure they can make the phone call, and I'm sure it can be on its way.
I don't know what was budgeted for equipment purchase this year, or what was intended to be purchased this year, but I know you guys extended the warranty on that blade out, so you weren't gonna purchase a blade this year, so that money might be available in equipment purchasing part of the budget too.
Yes.
So.
That outfit that you got there, will that work on the one loader that we have?
It should. He said ideally it was for the.
It needs to be a
950.
950?
No, the 938 would have worked.
Okay, well, I know one of them has quick attach.
He knew that too, but he said, I can't tell you which one. I said,
Okay.
I have no.
Hopefully it's the bigger one.
Can you call down to Dewey and ask him?
I can. Right now, you want me to do that?
Well, my guess it's gonna work on either one, but it's just gonna be easier on the quick attach. I mean, it's that simple.
I wonder about plumbing to run that thing.
Pretty sure it's there. It's all self-contained motor. There ain't none. So what's the commission want to do here? My guess is, if we are gonna do it, I would say we're gonna do it because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of counties in the same boat we are that could be buying it as we speak too.
You're right. You're lucky if it's still there.
It was still there when I was on the phone.
Okay, here's what the emergency purchase portion of the bid booklet states. It says a purchasing agency may make or authorize offers to make an emergency procurement without advertising the procurement if rentals are not practicable and there exists a threat to public health, welfare, safety, or for other urgent or compelling reasons. Failure to abide by the bid provisions of this chapter in a timely manner is not an emergency. An emergency procurement shall be made with such competition as is practicable under the circumstances. A written determination of the basis for the emergency and for the selection of the particular contractor shall be included in the contract file. So basically, I think that we fall underneath that emergency situation because we are dealing, as our superintendent said, that people are snowbound in their properties, so we can go ahead. I think we should definitely, when we make the motion to purchase whatever we purchase, that it's because for, particularly in this case, safety and welfare of the public, and that time is limited due to the fact that
I make a motion that Jamie draws up the emergency declaration and we procure the snow blower for the loader.
Okay, I got it.
But have the emergency declaration.
I'll do that. And basically what it's going to say is that we have an increasing amount of snow, more than what we've had in the past decade, that there are safety issues with regard to people being snowbound, and safety issues with regard to people on the road and accidents, and that the public welfare is also required to be part of the transportation system, that the county determines the acquisition of a particular, whatever the piece of equipment is necessary to go beyond the bid process and just make the procurement automatically, and that also that leasing is not a option, which in this particular case it doesn't look like a lease is something we want to or would need to do anyhow. It's like we need to buy the equipment. Is that kind of what you're thinking, Blake?
Yeah, I think we definitely need it. And
What about
if we have this next year again, or even if it's
What about
like-
you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, was rental even an option for that piece of equipment?
No.
I mean, they're so limited, there's such a limited
No, they're
supply,
not,
so.
they're not gonna rent it.
So, yeah, I think we're.
They had rental, but not, same thing
Can
like
we,
Premier had.
if we're done, we could probably rent it, or we can rent it to a different county, maybe if they,
Well,
I don't know how that works.
I would just soon not do that.
but I think that if somebody wants theirs blown out or something, we should be able to contract out with rental rate on that, just like,
See our man.
just like pushing out a
Otherwise, they
driveway
get
with a
broke.
blade,
Right.
but make it high.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any more discussion on that? Only thing I want to add there is, just so you know, this ain't the biggest one they make. There's two more bigger than this, so I'm just saying, this ain't the monster of them, but it's pretty good size. But
Over
it's
9 feet, is it a 9 foot, I'm sure?
8.
8 foot?
Yeah.
So do you have
Weighs right
the,
at 10,000 pounds too, so.
do you have the, does EVA have the make of what we're going to be purchasing in the minutes?
Was it the 938 or?
No,
Oh.
this is,
That's the
I've
thing
got
about.
the-
Chad can send over
Is
the
it-
sales agreement once we get one to okay.
Okay.
Probably 8 or 8.5.
The wheels
Right
could
there.
be an issue, yeah, with the.
well, you can put little extensions on the side.
How wide is the 950 motor? Yep, are the tires. Okay,
Kevin.
real quick, like,
Did he say which one had the, has the quick catch?
The 950, the bigger one.
What does a 9-foot one cost?
I don't think they even had one. If you want me to make that call real quick?
I was just curious. You know, I'm guessing probably 20,000 more.
If you do, why don't we take a quick break while you call them?
Okay, why don't we take a break then? I'll get on the phone with you. But anyhow, they're gonna be calling me back. What do you want to do, I guess? We got a motion on the floor in a second. I wouldn't know why it shouldn't work for us.
And as far as getting, you think it'll be here today maybe?
My guess is a very good chance that it could be, even if it is 10:30. I mean, I'm sure I can talk to the salesman and I'm sure he can get it here.
But we don't want to rent one to go out there now, or just go out there maybe with the loaders and see if we can dig out
I truthfully think I would just go out there with the loader and
start digging out.
for now and
Okay.
okay, we got a motion on the floor and a second. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I will get talking with Kevin. He's the Titan guy for here. And then I'll keep you in the loop on it and let you know. So what, we're gonna just, we gotta say amount, I mean, there's gonna be,
Once we get the sale contract, Eva can give that to Jamie and he can put all that in there, but.
okay. Cause I still got a Jew on them, so.
And plus the commissioner, or the chairman's going to sign the purchase agreement, right? The contract.
Can. But I got a Jew on, so you wanna sell something, here's your chance.
It might not be a buyer's market, it might be more of a seller's market like today.
It might be.
If it was the 1st of July, it might be a little different story.
Well, you got a point, but still gonna try. All right, thanks, Blake.
Yep,
Thank you.
Josh. And when that phone call comes, I'm gonna step out and take that. Josh, did you want to hand it on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do you have one?
Good morning, everybody.
Such a copy. That's for mine.
Okay, I'll just, I'll call it on that one, figure
What was handed out to you guys was a copy of a letter that I drew up for you guys to take a look at, please. It's just outlining some stuff and putting some information out to you. The other things that were handed out were the 2 contracts between Fulton County and and one for Hughes County for alternate housing. Falk County ones is your basic contract, one of them, and your other one is the $250,000 option. Which would cover 2,941 days, if anybody was wondering, roughly, at that $85 rate. The rate is the same in both contracts. The commission needs to decide which contract they want to sign and secure beds. And I'm also asking for the signature of, for you guys to review the Hughes County one, and also for an alternate bed space also. Those are the handouts. Does that have enough?
No, we were short one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, mine.
Thank you, Amanda.
I got one of those.
Oh, you got one of those?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I got that.
No, you got two more. You got this one. Okay.
Was it just the same as this?
Yeah, I thought you were short, I thought you were short.
And as pointed out in the letter, thank you, Kevin, for coming and meeting with me. It was well spent time, I think.
I do too.
Commissioner Schilling, same to you. We met a couple different times. Any questions on the letter? Like I said, it's just some thoughts that I put down on paper to get out to you guys. I know I've got ideas, I've shared those. Scott has ideas that he's working on currently, and which he's had some communication with.
Actually, I just sent everything yesterday to the guy in Minneapolis. He said he'll be talking to me on Thursday or Friday.
No discussion on the letter. Permission to move to the second line item, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
On the 72-hour holding, what we found out, I'll have Justin touch base on this because he fielded the phone call for me as I was doing some other stuff. Couldn't take it, court related. Anyway, South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, which is our insurance, Doug Kirkus was our contact person. It will not cost anything for them to come and research that idea of the 72-hour holding. So no dollars need to be spent on that, and I believe I shared that with a couple of you. The staffing, we're still trying to work on that because it's going to be doesn't matter what window they come in, you're still going to have overflow back into that 72-hour period, so you're going to have to, so I'm going to need staff there. Whether for 72-hour we go down to double 2 staff, one ain't going to cut it. So I mean, that is not going to happen as far as one staffing for them. Double, it's going to depend on your numbers, on what kind of flow we're going to have through that 72-hour hold. And also recommendations from these guys. They actually come in and they look at different policy and procedures for other areas, other states, and what they're utilizing as far as for the 72-hour holding requirement. But I'm going to need staffing there. I know it's been said before, you know, if we have 72-hour holding and we're going to have that many funneling through there, keep our jail open then. I know that was put out there. But like I said, this is an option, and that's what I found out. Is that something you guys still want to do since there's no dollars involved? He put it to us that it's done through your insurance carrier. That's why it's, so you think that's worthwhile looking at?
I guess, in my opinion, I don't know what it's going to hurt to look at it.
Like I said, everybody wants option. This is another option. I got asked to research it. And the big thing was cost, and if there was a cost, what that was going to be. If it was going to, just throwing a number out, if it was going to cost us $1,000 to get them here to do this, or cost us nothing, you know. But according to Doug, it's our insurance carrier does this for us since we're insured through them.
I don't know what it could hurt to do it. I guess that's my opinion. Does it hurt to do anything if they're not charging you anything?
That'd be my suggestion, is get them here and see if they gotta change their classification of the jail, it doesn't meet jail requirements.
Okay.
See what their suggestion is.
Okay.
My thinking is if we're gonna keep it open for 72 hours, we just will keep our inmates and run it.
Okay.
Well, I guess, I mean, at least you would know if it's gonna work that way, I mean,
Right.
you have an
I will,
option.
we will get in touch with Doug and at least explore the option and bring it back to you guys.
I'm gonna have to leave. I gotta go for 2 hours.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be sitting down by Sioux Falls and take a trailer with you. All right, see you, Jim.
Yep.
Okay, jail contracts, next item. What does the board want to do?
Well, to me, I guess regardless, I mean, we should have contracts, it's just that, I guess we need to decide if we just want the regular contracts. In all reality, are we ready for transporting? I mean, that's the big question. I will just, I'll say it again. I would just as soon do it as soon as I know with what I'm working on. I don't know how the rest of the commission feels. I think we should have a contract regardless with Falk County and Hughes County. And if it looks like we're gonna have to, that things don't work out, that we have to contract and transport, to me that's different than just a regular contract. What do you say, Davis?
I agree with you.
The contract with Falk County and Hughes County, I mean, it's, I guess my question is, if we sign these, we're not, doesn't mean we can't sign a contract with Falk County to do a long-term contract, can we?
No.
If we decide that?
No.
I mean, this is just giving us options to be able to take inmates if we need.
Yes, sir.
That's just like there were some years that we had, what, 19 contracts, I think, with Walworth County? I think there were some years that we approved. It was, I don't know the exact figure, but I think it was somewhere in that neighborhood. Would you say? That we.
That's correct.
Agreed to.
That's with U.S. Marshals.
Yeah, we had, like I said, it was a lot of contracts that we had always approved. So, I mean, to me, it's really nothing new. So my question is, do you guys want to sign the contracts, just the regular contracts with both Falk County and Hughes County right now?
You know, the one contract with Falk County that was handed out needs a date change on it. Because that is effective December 31st,
18.
Until December 31st, 2018.
And we would just notate that on there.
I don't know if there's anything changed on the new one for 2019, but
To my understanding, it's still the same. We would just have to amend those dates.
I guess my question is, okay, you got in here that you agree with the transportation.
Can I take this to you guys? That's
Yeah.
the one I'm waiting for.
of you being the sole responsibility for the transport.
Yep, per our conversation, correct.
And you agree that you can do that for the 271,000?
If not possibly, even possibly less than that.
That was figured going to Fauq County. Which actually, Hughes County is about identically the same. There's a 20 miles difference, if that, between the two of them. So I guess if you agree to that one and we agree on transporting one first, my question is if we've already been told that we cannot run our current jail the way it is now, that takes out option 3. Depending on how you want to read it, it would take out option 1, 2, and 3. Because we shouldn't be running what we have now, because we've been told that we're not supposed to be running it. I still agree with checking into these different options, and I have no problem checking into these different options. And if we can get something that we can deal with, let's go with it. And if you agree to do the transporting, the worst case scenario, it's going to cost us $521,000 while we're waiting on these different options.
Okay, so you want to make that in the motion to when the chairman gets back, or?
We have one that just left, one that's on the phone, so we're in the discussion phase, so.
Putting him back on the phone.
Like I said, trying to get you business, so. Tell Matt. All right, let me know. You bet, yep. Yep.
You got you on speaker. Okay. We're still at the discussion portion. We're on the jail contracts, Jim.
Okay.
He's speaking to Jim.
That's Jim.
Oh, Jim, oh, Jim. Oh.
Yeah.
So what I was saying for Jim and Scott, while you guys was gone, with Josh agreeing to do the sheriff's office, having the sole responsibility of the sheriff's office to do the transport, does everybody agree for him to do that for $271,000?
Well, I think if Josh thinks he can make it happen, I mean, if he's agreeing to it, I mean, if he thinks he can do it for that or less, to me, it's up to him. If he wants, if he thinks he can.
And I think that's where it needs to stay, which we've all discussed, and I've just discussed with Kevin at length in a meeting. Is keep that responsibility where it needs to, since I'm responsible for that anyway.
And I don't have a problem with that. Like I talked to you at the meeting,
Correct.
I was just checking different options because the first one came back that it was going to cost you $800,000, $900,000.
Yep, and that's true. That did come. I did have it very quite high.
So that's why we
But that
were
is-
exploring different options, and now you say you can do it for the 271, so I don't have a problem with you.
Using the same scenario and scaling it back down to the four employees, which was in the same contract that was talked about with the city of Mobridge.
Okay, so my suggestion is if he's gonna be able to do that, my suggestion would be to sign the one with Fouke County for the 250,000, and we can sign one for Hughes County too as an overflow. Just as, because we've been told by different people, we spent $60,000 for this last one. We spent, I don't know how much before that with JDH, that we cannot run the jail the way we have it right now. Let's still explore these different options. Scott, your option, we'll still look at all these different options of what we're gonna do. If we can find an option, then let's build. But if we've been told and told and told that we cannot do this, that would basically take out options 1, 2, and 3. Keep the existing facility open. So that's where I would like the discussion. I don't know what the rest of you are feeling, but that's the way I'm feeling.
You said take out 1, 2, and 3, and then what?
Well, keep exploring these different options. Let's see what your option comes back at. But we have time to do that.
I guess I need clarification from the board as a whole. Then if we sign that contract for 2, are we, I'm going to use the inevitable word, are we doing a shutdown of my facility?
I would say it's a temporary closure to explore different options.
But we sign that contract, we'd be shipping our prisoners out then.
Correct.
And then
The worst case scenario, we'd be saving 600,000. As a worst case scenario. While we're exploring all these different options.
But in all reality though, what really is it gonna hurt us to explore these options and not close it?
Then why, if we're gonna keep running it, then why are we even exploring these different options?
Well,
If we're allowed to run it now, in the condition that it's run in now, and we've been told and told and told, you cannot run it this way.
I know,
And
but
if we're gonna just disregard that, then let's just keep running it the way we are now.
I don't think any one of us sitting here is saying that. Everybody knows that it can't be run this way. It's gotta be changed.
Well, not according to options 1, 2, and 3. All 3 of these. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Where do we draw the line? I'm not saying to not look at these different options of bringing in, see what it's gonna cost to redo it. What I'm saying is, in the meantime, when we've been told and told and told, you cannot run it the way it is.
Have we been told that? Did you know that we can't run it as is, or?
It was mentioned.
It was mentioned without making changes.
Make changes you can.
We'd have to make changes.
Big changes.
Wouldn't be too big of changes for that new addition, would it?
if that's what you guys decide to do. But the thing of it is to get a plan put together, stick to it, and like I said in here and explained, do it in phases, I don't care, but it just seems like the ball gets, there's either a stall tactic or the ball gets dropped and it just totally gets thrown to the wayside. And I don't think we're doing it justice, but that's what I don't want to see.
That's what the consultant said that we spent $60,000 on. His whole thing, there's no way you can run this jail the way it is now. Lee from EAPC said the same thing. You cannot run this jail the way it is without spending a lot of money on it. I think it was JDH before that did the survey before that. Now you gotta spend a lot of money to improve this jail.
There ain't no question. I'll say it. I don't care if I'm on national TV. It's, if you don't think that them guys are trying to sell a new product,
Well, I know they're
you're
trying
only
to sell
fooling
it.
yourselves.
I know they're trying to sell a new product.
That's exactly what they were doing.
And U.S. Marshals inmates, they get checked every year, don't they, at the facility?
Yes,
Still come, don't they?
they have been.
But they won't pay the same rate because our facility doesn't meet their requirements.
I thought it was just on bid they done that.
And that has to be renegotiated. And that has to be done electronically. It's
Well, I just hate to see us lose a jail, shutting it down and losing a jail.
I'm gonna just be very honest. This is how I look at it, and it's nothing that's ever changed my mind. It's, I would love to finish what I'm doing right now, and I hope get my answers that I can get very soon. Like I said, I sent everything to him. I talked with him yesterday. He said, I will look at everything Thursday. I will call you on Friday. I would like to finish this and see what this is actually could cost us, because, and I'll make no bones about it, I'm not one to, if we do some remodel, if we go that direction, I'll be honest with you, I don't think that if we can do it, leaving it open at the same time. I don't see how that could happen, Josh. But anyhow, that's me. So, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. But I just feel that to sign this contract right this instant, I think we're just jumping just a hair. I believe that we're gonna have to do that. I solely do. But that's me again. But I just feel that even if we sign the two contracts, but not the $250,000 one, but sign the other two right away, so we have a place, get done with what I'm looking at. I know I'm just one person, it's just me, but that's truthfully how I feel. That I think I would like to see this done that way. It's only, like I said, it's me. And if things don't work out, well,
What happens if your bid comes back $3 million?
well, I don't believe it's going to, but
Hypothetically, then what are you looking at for an option?
well, I don't think we got the money to spend. I believe it can come in way under that. That's how I look at it. I don't see how it cannot come in way less than that with going with Huron. The Minnesota guy absolutely said, just like I said, he said, I will figure this all out for you, he said. I'm not gonna charge you a nickel. He said, I will come out there, he's been here before. He said, I will present it to you. You like it, you dislike it, we'll shake hands and walk away. So to me, it's just hard to agree to something when that option was thrown at me.
I guess I got a question based on that, Scott, though. I mean, if, let's say this contract comes back at $1 million and we decide that this is the way we're gonna go and we're gonna build. You just mentioned that, and I think with Kevin's concern is the fact that we were told time and time again that this thing is not good to keep open. Aren't we just wasting time to look into these options when we're sitting here with our, I guess I feel like our liability is quite a bit higher because we've been told this. Should we not look at the option of closing the thing down temporarily, get the contracts in line to ship the inmates down to Fall County? If your contract comes in, I am 100% in favor of building, if that comes in at that kind of price. But I don't see what we're gaining by waiting. I mean, if that contract does come in and we decide to vote to build next week or the next meeting we have, aren't we basically just dragging our feet? I mean, if we decide to build in the next meeting, we're still going to have to close this thing down to move our inmates, aren't we?
Correct.
If you're going to tear down the facility, yeah, you're going to have to.
So I'm trying to figure out if we sign this contract, we've got a 2-year contract. If we, in the meantime, decide to build and do something, at least we have the ability that we know where our inmates can go. We have the ability to tear this thing down and get it out of here and build our facility that we want to build. We've kind of got our ducks in a row as far as which way we're going to go. I don't know. I guess I'm having a hard time figuring out why are we waiting when we've been told that this facility is questionable at its best to have inmates in there.
Well, I'll say it again. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with people wanting to sell something. Do I agree? Yeah. There's no question about this facility. But
I guess maybe I'll ask you, Jamie, but as far as liability issues, are we sitting here, are we okay with this staying open as we are?
You're going...
And I don't know if that's a fair question.
No, I think you're fair. Basically, with the jail, we know that there are issues with the jail that are structurally that need to be made. And I think a lot of the personnel things have been changed. You know, when they first evaluated the jail, there were structural issues and there were personnel issues. There are structural issues that have not been addressed due to the cost, and those liabilities are still there. If you close the facility, of course, then everything's going to be transferred to Fauquier County with a newer facility. Does that kind of...
I guess that was my point. If it's structural issues that are the concern of our liability fact, shouldn't we be addressing that and trying to move forward on that idea? I'm totally in favor of if we can come in with a price that everybody's in agreement on. I am totally in favor of building and getting rid of the old stuff and start over. To me, adding on to that old facility, if we're looking at keeping the 99 edition and remodeling on that, I think that's a waste of taxpayer dollars. If you're going to spend the kind of money and building and bringing the foundation up and getting the foundation fixed and gutting that building and redoing it, we've got leaking issues with the roof. I just feel that we are wasting taxpayer dollars trying to fix that, when we could doze it down, put the new facility where the old one is, and if we can get it into the price range that comes in where we feel confident with, to me that's the way we need to proceed. But at least we have a game plan to get our inmates someplace in the time frame that we can, 2 years. at least you got an ability to get this out of here and get a new facility built up back in here.
But see, that's the thing, 2 years, I mean, 2 years is a long time. To me, it is.
I don't think it's that long of a time when you consider you're gonna tear all this facility down and bring a new facility in. You're looking at a minimum of a year's time doing that.
See, but I was not looking at taking that old part out. You can't do it all that for 2 million if you want that size, what's in the old part, to the new part. That's, you're not.
Well, I don't think there's any way that you're going to remodel that 99 edition and get that foundation process fixed for anywhere close, if you're thinking going that direction. I know there's companies that can do it, but anytime you go into a remodel project and you start digging that and bringing it up,
I'm not talking a lot of done to the old part. I'm not. There really doesn't have to be a lot done to that part. A little, but not much. Fix their foundation.
What about the roof?
Straight across the... I am not a flat roof person. If I lived in... I don't even know where, if I lived somewhere, if I would like one. I never have liked one. So...
Jim, what's your ideas? You haven't never said anything on this.
We have changed a lot of the procedure in our facility. As Sheriff Moore told us a couple meetings ago, our liability is going to be the same whether we go to Faulkner or stay there. I think our only option is to operate our jail, build a new one, and then replace our jail with a parking lot. That's where we were 4 years ago. We're right back there at the same discussion now. If we close our jail now, it won't be opened again. And if we do decide to build a new one down the road in a couple of years, we don't have any trained staff. So you're either going to have to go someplace and hire them away from another facility and move them to our county, or hire staff and send them to another facility to get trained.
Davis, what's your feelings?
I believe that 2000 edition can be saved, but I think pretty reasonable. I think. Surely don't want to lose the jail. I'd like to see it open. Have to close up for a little construction, but I don't think that'd be a 2-year deal, but you know, that's my opinion.
Okay, I guess the commission needs to come to a consensus on that issue right there, the temporary closure issue, and whether you want to go with A or B on those two, one of the two contracts. Hughes County is a moot point at this point. I'm still asking for the signing of that one of Hughes County for additional bed space.
You want a motion on Hughes right now?
If you would, please.
I'd take a motion to sign the Hughes County contract.
I so move.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Davis, I didn't know. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passed. Did you get that? You got that?
Yeah. Yes. Jeff Ross, there's the-
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so now what are we gonna do with the Fall County? To a question that you asked a little while ago, Kevin, I will answer that. When you asked me about that number coming back, when you're saying, what if it comes back here? Well, I'll be honest with you, if that number comes back way out of what I'm expecting, then I feel if it's up in this, say 5 million and that, my guess is that I don't believe that's we should be saying that. I believe the taxpayer should say whether you're gonna spend the $5 million. I don't believe that even if I didn't agree with the 10 million, same with the 5 million. I don't know if that's what you want to hear, but I'm just saying, that's me. I'm not gonna agree to $5 million. I didn't agree to 10. I'm agreeing to way less.
Okay.
That's how I'm looking at it. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's the best of my knowledge, that's how I can tell you. I'm not looking at 5 million, I'm not.
I'm just saying.
I'm looking at that $2 million where I'm at.
I hope it does come back at that. All I'm saying is, if it does, then let's temporary shut down and go with it. We're wasting time doing it. That's what I'm getting at, is we're wasting time.
Well, I guess I know what you're saying, Kevin, but I guess I know what I'm saying. I just look at it that I feel my answers are gonna come very soon. But I'm gonna say it again, I'm one person, so you guys, if you wanna vote on that, then I say vote on it, but I would just as soon you hold off on wanting to transport right now. That's me. I feel if we can get the ball rolling, if that's the avenue we're gonna take, is to build an addition, then I think that's when we gotta do the transporting, when they're gonna start the construction. I think that's how it'll be. I don't know how the rest of everybody feels, but.
Do you remember, Sheriff, what the time frame was on, and that's maybe not even a fair comparison, but when we were talking about the $10 million facility, as far as the building and completion of that?
It was 1 year. It was real close to a year.
Wow, that's 18 to 24
I was
months.
gonna say, from the time of start to finish, I was thinking it was closer to 2 years.
No, I didn't think so. I guess I didn't think so.
I'd have to look, I don't remember you guys.
About 3 months of it was just the initial planning and everything else.
Blueprints.
Jim, do you remember? I swore that it was just 1 year.
I think construction was a year, you know, but by the time you get to all the other hoops and stuff, you know, by the time you get the regular design and everything, and the bid letting and stuff, you're probably, I'm thinking 18 months to 2 years. But I think the construction was just a year, is what they figured. You know, with the cells from here on, they can put them up faster, they claim.
I mean, it's not even close to the same design, but I remember that chart they had there where they said that the planning would be in this month, and then, I don't know, I thought it was a year, but you guys were there more.
The bid letting was at least 6 months out to begin with, just for the bid letting.
Yeah, and I think that's what the stuff that Jim's also talking about, right? But actual construction.
But when you're talking with using Huron, that's an altogether different animal. You're not having all that brick and mortar. It's a totally different deal. That stuff is all pre-made.
We're still gonna have to do some of the bid letting though, aren't we, for construction and all that stuff? We're still gonna end up going through all that, so.
Is there, I guess, the possibility of, Scott, when you're coming back with these numbers, or if you're coming back with these numbers, can they give you a projection as far as time frame? From time to plans to bid letting to completion?
Well, I wouldn't know why you can't. That's what they do for a living.
Because to me, if that's the case and we decide to go that direction, and that's our cheapest route, then I would say, you know, maybe we have to reconsider the contract with Falk County, but if that would be a 1-year process or a 15-month process, I have no idea. I personally, knowing how all this bid letting and all of the other things come down the pipe, 2 years I don't feel like is out of line at all from the time you start to the finish. I don't care if it's just a basic plain Jane deal you're putting up. There's too many hoops you got to jump through with the bid letting and weather, completion, all that stuff. I mean, that's my point, is I don't see where this 2-year contract doing this gives us the ability to get all this stuff in our ducks in a row and get this thing built, and then we've got a place to come back to. But maybe if we want to push this off till the next meeting on this one here, it seems like we just keep pushing it back and pushing it back, but maybe if you can have those numbers figured out by the next meeting, at least we know where we're at. I agree with Hogard. If we've been told and told and told not to have this thing open, I think Jamie explained that we've got some of the areas covered, but we still got a whole lot of other structural issues that haven't been solved. And I don't know, as far as these other contracts we signed one with Hughes County. To me, I don't see the difference or what the big deal is signing the other contract with Falk County, because it's really a separate contract. It's for staffing on or overboard inmates on our facility we currently have. So I mean, if we decide to go and sign the contract, long-term contract with Falk County at the next meeting, that's just an extra. It's just a contract that we have out there. It's really not a binding financial contract that we've got. But I would just soon, like Mr. Hogard said, I'd just soon get this thing moving, because we've been kicking the can down the road a long time and not getting anywhere with it.
So you want to sign the contract with Falk County then for just the regular 80 days or $85 a day? Is that what you want to do?
Well, I guess I personally don't see what it hurts us. I mean, either way.
It can't hurt it. I mean,
it's a contract that gives us the overflow if we have need for an overflow.
That's all it is.
And their facility is.
And if you guys so choose, this trumps this. If you guys so choose, if that number doesn't come in and you guys decide as a group, this decision, you know, yes, I'm involved, but this decision's got to come from this board and this table up here in this commissioner chambers. So this still could happen. This would obviously replace this if we can't, or you guys can't agree on a concept where for lack of a better term, a concept to go forward on and move forward on and stay on track with it, not lose track. If Scott's idea comes in and you guys decide to go with that idea and it can come in at this amount and you guys decide to do that, stay on track and go with it. Don't let it fall to the wayside. We spin our wheels too much up here, and me too. So, because I'm at the table with you guys, but this decision is ultimately sitting here.
Like I said it before, I would really just like to see this through, to see if, maybe I'm totally wrong.
Well, then let's just table it until the next meeting so we can move on.
I just hope I can get the answers to you.
So is that what you want to do? Table?
Yeah, do we want to sign the contract with, somebody want to make a motion on that contract with Falk County?
I don't. Somebody else can.
I'm asking for a motion to sign the Falk County contract.
Which one, Scott?
The regular one.
The regular?
This would be the temporary contract?
Yes, the one for $80 to $85 per day.
I would so move to sign it for the temporary contract.
Of $85 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passed. Yes, Josh. Are you done now, Josh?
Do we want, the only other line item I got is discussion of, I don't know if we put that on there, but that was already covered. BIA and federal or U.S. Marshal, do you guys want me to continue to try and renegotiate that, or do you want to bring that revenue back and take some of that operations burden off?
Well, truthfully, I guess, I think for the time being, I think we should leave well enough alone until we decide exactly what we want to do.
Okay.
What's the rest of you feel?
I will.
I guess to me, it doesn't matter to me anymore because we don't matter about the liabilities, so. I guess I don't care.
Anything else, Josh?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to number 19. Consider motion to increase salary of county auditor for service rendered to the TV translator district, highway department, and weed and pest board. Can you explain that a little bit, Ryan?
If I remember right, I think the amounts, total amount was 7,000, right, I believe. It would be 3,000 from TV translator district, 2,000 from highway, and 2,000 from weeds, I believe were the amounts that you guys talked about. So, and that would be for administration provided to those departments.
I know the weed board has approved it. That was brought up at the last weed board meeting, and they approved giving the 2,000 for administration.
I know the highway talked to Blake, but, and TV translator, truthfully, that's been, Walworth County has never gotten a nickel for everything they do for that. I don't quite think that's right how long it's happened. But Anyhow, I take a motion for that.
Do you need individual motions on each one of those, or?
No.
So, is that disbanding, Scott? The TV translator?
Not at the moment.
Not yet.
I think there's a meeting coming up. Isn't there one in Minor or something coming up? I think. Maybe they might know a little more about that one.
I would make a motion to transfer those funds from those individual departments to help her with her costs that she's rendered.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion?
I have something.
Yes.
I'll tell you right now, this is gonna open a can of worms as a department head. Huge. Just letting you know. Also, is there still going to be a second employee in the auditor's office? Because I'm sure that's one of the questions that I'm gonna get asked by my staff.
Yes.
So there's a second employee and plus a $7,000 raise. Okay?
Well, there's,
I would agree with Jamie, that is gonna cause a horrendous disruption in our courthouse with staff.
Who else?
That's her job now.
Jim, I
It's not
don't,
her job to go to all these other meetings and take all these notes and file all the grants and everything for the.
That's her job. That's what she was hired for. That's what she was elected to do.
yeah, but Jim, I don't think anything has to do with the weed and pest, the highway department, the TV translator. I don't think that's anybody's job description.
But that's all volunteer stuff, Scott, that people have done. I'm gonna turn around and ask for a raise. I'm gonna turn around and ask for a raise and more staff. This is out of control. We all agreed a year ago that we would not ask for raises for our employees, and the employees said we would not ask for raises due to the fact that we have a huge medical influx. Now you're turning around and giving a person a $7,000 raise, which was not budgeted for, plus keeping a second employee, which they have not hired yet. Amanda's been gone how many months? And we still don't have an employee there. And now we're gonna authorize a raise. I'm gonna come back in and you can vote down a raise for my employees then, since it doesn't mean anything to budget. And I'm sure you're gonna get that from every department head. Do you have a problem with that, Nyla?
I'd like to see it be fair in all departments.
Plus, we already cut staff in other departments, and now we're keeping more staff and paying that department head more that's elected.
Okay, what are we supposed to do with all the other jobs that has to go with that? I mean,
That's all, but she doesn't have to be on the weed board. She doesn't have to be on
who's gonna do it?
one of the other staff or themselves. She's not required to be on any of those boards. Where does it say that the auditor has to be on the weed board, that the auditor has to be the recorder for the translator district, that she has to do the training for the staff down at the register, or at the highway department?
Okay, so what are we gonna do? Hire another person for that, for all that stuff?
I don't know. I'm just saying that you're gonna open a can of worms. So that's all I'm saying is, it's up to you. I don't vote. I'm just telling you that you don't understand the huge ripple that you are making.
To be clear, aren't we doing the same thing with Brenda, moving some of her duties from?
Well, I'll tell you what, then, I'll have her quit doing it. We'll push it back to the auditor.
That's not what we're saying, Jimmy.
Yes, it is, Kevin.
We're-
You're saying that, I'm
we're
telling you that,
moving- We're just moving some responsibilities from one to the other.
right, but Brenda's not getting a $7,000 a year pay raise.
We did give her a raise.
That's right, because she was moving into state's attorney stuff. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not here to argue. I'm just telling you that as a department head, we already have enough problems to deal with, and this is just creating another big one.
And she's
Because
been doing a lot of overtime, getting all these
I'm just
things
saying
done.
that I'm complaining about it as a department head.
Okay, so let's split it up then. We'll have somebody in your office, Nyla, do the weed board. Somebody in the other office do the TV translator.
That's up to you guys. I'm just saying that you're gonna get a huge complaint from me, like you're getting right now. We all agreed to this, and now all of a sudden you're changing it after budget. It's your call. I'm just saying, as a department head, I think it's totally unfair to the other departments. Why don't you give Nyla 7,000? Why don't you give me 7,000? Why don't you give Deb 7,000? Why didn't you give Casey 7,000?
Okay, I mean, can we take and give these, okay, tell Nyla she's gotta do weed and pest.
Becky volunteered to do weed and pest. That's not her duty.
Somebody has to.
Well,
it wasn't getting done. So I want somebody to tell us then how are we supposed to get these other jobs done?
just like other organizations have, they have their secretary, recorder, or whatever. Doesn't say it has to be the auditor. They can have their own people. They could have one of their own board members be the recorder. That's
I think the reason it wasn't getting done was because Becky stepped up to do it or was doing it. I think the weed board needs to step up to the plate and run their weed board. The auditor shouldn't have to do that. The auditor shouldn't have to attend emergency manager meeting and run the highway department.
Well, there was nobody at the highway department, so what were we gonna do? I mean, it was just we hired somebody. I mean, that's just how it was.
Well, and I want to reiterate on the emergency manager part. She is the assistant emergency manager, so as far as that goes, I mean, that is part of the position that she took. So that is not comparable to the weed and the TV, I mean, that part.
But that's something she opted to do. It's
right,
not a requirement of an auditor.
No, it's not, but now she has enough training and stuff that, I mean, she's in that position now. So that's something, I guess, that, you know, is important, I guess, to know on that side of the EM side of it, so.
I mean, if you want to keep going, I paid my own medical insurance for years, so because it was cheaper for me and it saved the county $10,000 a year. I'm not asking for anything. All I'm saying is that I think I'll be quiet. You just make your own decision.
And I guess on the emergency management side, there for a while it was put in my office. I did not receive an increase for doing that. I'm the one that did it. I went to meetings also, more or less because law enforcement's usually there and part of those. Anyway, but I did not receive compensation for those things either. Obviously, I'm already there on law enforcement side, but in past years, I was the assistant EM because I'm responding to everything on that side. But like I said, I just think we're opening a huge can of worms, and I will leave it at that.
I think unfortunately a lot of the paperwork and all that stuff automatically comes down through the auditor's office. I mean, if they have no other place to go with it, it comes to the auditor's office. I have no problem with what you're saying. I agree that potentially we're opening up a can of worms. But then I'm going to say this. These other department heads need to step up to the plate and volunteer some of their time then.
But no one's asked them. That's the deal. No one's asked them to do anything. It's always been a voluntary basis. Say, okay, fine, would you do this? Has anyone asked you to do anything, Nyla? No one's asked me to be on any of these. Only time I come up to the translator district is they ask me and I come up and answer a question and go back down. This is all voluntary. This is all stuff that someone has chosen to do, that they're not required to do. If you want to disperse it throughout the elected officials, then appoint them to it. You can say the treasurer is now the recorder for this, or the state's attorney is now the recorder for that. This is all voluntary. This is nothing that's required as part of their duty. And that's where I beg to differ. Nothing in the statute say that this is the auditor's job. This is all stuff she has voluntarily done and taken on. Nothing she's required. And if you ask other people to do it and they decline, then maybe you should compensate the individual for it. But that's not been done. And that's why I have a complaint. Because we already set our budgets. We already said we would not take raises. And now you're giving an individual, right after the first of the year, a $7,000 a year raise. Is this for 1 year or for continuous, or how long is it for?
Well, I would say it's for right at this moment.
Indefinitely?
What do you mean?
Forever.
I didn't say that.
Well, I guess you should probably put that in, how long it's going to be there for. Is this a one-time deal?
Well, this is what we were talking about, because of all the stuff that's just been happening here. Well, the TV translator's been happening for, whatever, 25 years, that every county gets that for nothing except Walworth County. I'm just using that one for an example. In the highway department, I mean, we wouldn't be in very good shape right now if somebody wouldn't have been doing it down there.
Was anyone else asked? She volunteered. No one asked anybody else to do it.
Well, it almost seemed like that was probably the place that we would be asking to do.
Why? Why couldn't you ask the state's attorney's office? They're just as knowledgeable. Why didn't you ask the... Ryan is probably more knowledgeable. Why didn't you ask any other office?
Just seemed like the place to ask.
I mean, I'm just talking my department, what we get from the highway department that eventually trickles down to my department are the bills. There was no one there to do the bills. And the timesheets for payroll. I just want to add that in there in case you guys are wondering what that eventually trickled down to our department. So for that I can speak up that, you know, there was the billing and there was a payment and there was taxes for that department and there was the payroll. So, and between the time that Penny left, the guys down there, they weren't trained to do that. Just FYI.
Also then, we'll just leave Brenda as the 16 hours 4-H, and you guys can deal with your own bills then. Why should we get involved? Volunteer to help. I'm not asking for anything. All I'm asking is for more time for an employee to save money. So I guess my department doesn't need to do that then. If you don't want to save money, that's fine. You do whatever you want to do, but count me out of it.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I was understanding that Becky got a couple thousand more than Casey and I got to help with the TV translator. Maybe I understood that wrong?
I've never heard of that now. Not since I've been here.
When I started, I was told that.
I guess
Might
in a
be something
meeting,
to look
I guess I
into.
never heard of it.
Might be something to look into.
As far as I know, when you posted the annual pay deal, yours was all the same.
No.
No.
There wasn't?
No. Versus a couple thousand more.
What's the commission want to do?
You want to table it and have the department heads volunteer for these other ones, and if they get volunteers, then we can just drop it. Say, here you go, step up to the
Don't
plate.
you have a motion on the floor?
No?
Yeah,
we do.
Just have to rescind that motion. Correct, Jamie?
Yes. Whoever made the motion would move to rescind it.
Marion and Jim.
No, Mary and Kevin.
I will rescind the motion and have the department heads look at taking up the responsibilities and see if we can get it covered that way.
So we're probably gonna need a list of the responsibilities and when you wanna have the department head meeting. I'll make sure it happens.
Yeah, just whenever Becca gets back, then just,
Well, I would like something from the commission stating when that would be done.
but I mean, the duties, I mean, I don't know of all the duties.
She can give the duties, but I would like to have you guys schedule the meeting
Well, that's fine, okay, that's fine.
and say this is what the date of the meeting is and I'll make it happen.
There's conference next week.
Get a second notice.
Yeah, I kinda interrupted, I'm sorry.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, I need a second for Marion's motion. To rescind it.
I'll second that.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. I don't think you heard that motion, all Jim.
I would still count as an 8.
Yeah. 4 to 1. Any old business?
I have to bring, or under new business, I'm sorry.
So you want that meeting set for, we're gonna have to change the,
Well, that was under new business.
So when do you want that meeting to be, that we can delegate out and see who's going to take the responsibilities?
so we're gonna change our regular scheduled meeting?
The one coming up,
Yeah.
March 19th one. There's gonna be 2 of us gone, I know, on March 19th. So that's why we were looking at doing it on the
Friday the 15th.
15th. It'd only be a few days ahead of regular scheduled meeting.
So how about if we do our meeting at 4 o'clock on the 14th, or March 14th? Will that work for you?
No, 14th, we're all in Pier.
No, this is for the well, I don't know if any of the department heads are there.
Becky's done.
Becky's there. Okay, why don't you do it on the 15th after the meeting?
Okay?
If, unless that don't work. Is the 15th gonna work for you, Jim, for the next meeting?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Davis?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have the next meeting for the 15th.
And we'll do the department head meeting at 15th at 1 o'clock.
Afterwards, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, I put mine right after the commissioner meeting, so.
Well, I'm sure you'll go to dinner or something, so.
Okay.
1
1
o'clock.
o'clock.
You said you had something else, Jamie?
Yes, I got 2 emails. One stating that we probably should not have gone into executive session last meeting since it was not on the agenda. I probably tend to agree.
Well, we can, as far as I know, we can do that.
Well, I think their allegation was that there was an intended executive session before the meeting was going to even happen, so that's why they probably should have put it on the agenda. Also, our agenda was not published on the county website for this meeting, which we should probably make sure happen.
The website was,
Yeah.
we had technical issues.
I'm just saying, I got an email this morning saying, why is the agenda not on the county website? Which we should have, so.
Can't fit,
Yeah, Ryan, I need your help to that.
but I mean, if it,
Yeah,
computer don't work.
I just wanted to bring those up, so.
Okay.
And then I guess on my end too, just informative, just because of all the snow that we have, it's probably inevitable that spring flooding is going to happen. So I was notified by the state that they're opening their contract for sandbags up to counties and communities. So if you want to purchase it at the state rate, it's pretty cheap, and I have those numbers. So if that's something you want to think about as the county to purchase some, to have them on hand, if we want residents to be able to have the ability to purchase them, pretty reasonable or whatever. But it might be something I have to talk to Blake about. But I just wanted to make you guys aware that that's an opportunity that we have. So.
And we usually did have a certain number on hand. to have him available.
Where were they at? Down the
Highway
They-
department.
you know, but I have word out to all the communities, as, you know, them as their own entity, if they wanna purchase them too, to just notify me. But you as the county, to know that that's an option out there, so. Yeah. So,
Okay. Anything else?
Becky just asked me to make sure who all is going to workshop next week. Is everybody planning on it? Anybody not planning on going? You going? Jim? You
I'm
going?
gonna try to, but I don't know with the weather, whether I'll make it or not. I was gonna call Becky and see how late we can wait to cancel our room.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that answer for sure. She just
Yeah,
wants
there's
me
no
to check.
hours.
They're forecasting more snow and we're cabin, so I just don't know if I'm gonna make it or not.
Okay.
I would say right now, I probably will not make it. If I do, I won't spend the night anyway, so. That's fine.
Okay.
Anything else? Not, I'd take a motion. Okay, got a motion on the floor, need a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Yes.